I
Good
hope
morning.
my voice
Good
is
morning.
clearly audible.
Yes, okay.
Great. So I'll just share my screen. Uh, you can confirm once it is visible so that we can get started.
Yes.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Thanks for confirming. So I guess formally the introduction has been already given by Navjot, and I'll not waste much time on introducing myself again. Uh, you must have received my profile as well, or else you can just search for Sakit Karnik on LinkedIn. There is a detailed profile available. And let's quickly jump on to the agenda that we have today for this webinar, which is going to be around 90 minutes session, and where we are going to throw some light on AZ 900 certification. Some of its content we are going to discuss, what cloud computing is, what Azure platform is, how AZ 900 certification helps us learning few things, what all areas are there which AZ 900 certification actually talks about or targets, and enables you to get started with Azure. And then what all other certifications are there which you can target once you are done with AZ 900. So let's get started. This is the detailed agenda. I hope this must have been shared with you guys already. Still, let's go through it. As I said, we will be starting with introduction to cloud computing, wherein we are going to talk about the definition of cloud and cloud computing, advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing, types of clouds.
Saket, you are on mute.
Sakit, you are on mute if you are saying anything.
Just a moment. I think he's dropped off. He's joining soon. Thank you.
Hey guys, am I audible now?
Yeah, Saket.
Yeah, yes, there was
Yes.
some issue with my headphones. So I just disconnected and connected again. That's why there was a small pause in between. So I hope the screen is also visible and now voice is clear.
Yes.
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 Yeah, so I was
I
talking
can't
about,
see.
sorry,
I can't see your screen, Saket.
let me share again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just check if it is visible now.
Yes.
Yeah, visible.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I was talking about the agenda for today's session. We'll be starting with introduction to cloud, where we'll be going through the definition of cloud and cloud computing, advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing, types of cloud services, infrastructure as a service or EAS, as we usually pronounce it. PaaS or platform as a service, then SaaS, which basically stands for software as a service. Then we'll move on to talk about Azure. So overall overview of Azure Cloud Platform. Then we'll be talking about the benefits of Azure. And then we'll move on to talk about Azure pricing models. Then the next section is about the core services that basically Azure offers. If I talk about number of services being offered by Azure, it's more than 100 services. In fact, it's more than 130 services now as on today. Uh, so it's definitely impossible to put all the services on one slide and discuss about each and every service in one session like this. So basically, I've summarized some of the very important services over here, which basically start with compute, storage, database, and networking services. Then we'll move on to focus on the Azure certification. Precisely, we'll be focusing on AZ900 over here. The career opportunities that come up with AZ900 and how do we prepare for AZ900? What all skills are measured by AZ900 certification? And that will be the end, which will be actually followed by a small quiz that we'll be conducting at the end of the session. So let's get started with the presentation finally. Let's talk about the world before cloud computing first of all. Before cloud computing, we had the entire infrastructure that used to be there in our office premises that used to be maintained and managed entirely by in-house team. In some cases, probably it was being outsourced to the vendors, but ultimately it was being managed at our end only. People from vendors basically used to come and manage and maintain those servers. Managing and maintaining require the hardware maintenance, the networking maintenance, the equipment maintenance, and at the same time, the overall administration, configuration, and the upkeep of the softwares was also included in the process. This required lots of civil space also. This required lots of investment in terms of hardware. This required lots of investment in terms of software licenses, other equipments. It also required investment in terms of staffing for managing and maintaining the infrastructure, be it in-house or be it the outsourced staff. Basically, there was huge investment going in. And the biggest challenge at the end that we used to have was basically where we wanted to upscale or downscale our server capabilities. Now, when you talk about scaling, what exactly that means is based on my current applications requirements, my server should be providing me those many resources. Now, this requirement can go up at times, can go down at times also, and that's where we had the challenge. Downscaling was never an option with on-premises implementation or on-premises computing. Upscaling was possible, but that had its own limitations. Like once you upscale your server, or if you scale out your server infrastructure by installing more servers and bringing in the load balancers, basically it's a kind of a dead investment. Uh, the reason I'm saying that is because after a certain period of time, 3 years, 5 years down the line, those servers become obsolete because technology keeps on changing and your servers and other equipments needs to be upgraded. Even the softwares needs to be upgraded as well to keep up with the pace of the industry demands and the business demands. And basically, uh, your servers cannot seamlessly upgrade or just scale out all the times. There will be a limitation after which those servers become entirely obsolete. The softwares become entirely obsolete on them because of the compatibility issues and all. And beside that, if the demand of the application basically goes down, what happens is you cannot just downscale or scale in once again back to the original configuration which you had. Because once you have invested something in procuring the hardware, the software licenses and other things, it just went, right? You can't just sell it back once again at the same rates. Even if you sell plan to sell it out, what if the requirement once again grows? Because when you sell out, you will be selling out at the depreciated price. And when you purchase, you will be paying the 100% of the cost. The depreciation rate for electronics is too high in the market. In India, it's 60% yearly. So 1 lakh rupees become just 40,000 over 1 year. And that becomes a problem, right? That's why I use the term called as dead investment. And probably that's where we had the challenges. And at the same time, when we say that, okay, my application is demanding more and more resources, my requirement is not going to be fulfilled at real time, because everybody knows that for procuring even a single pen, which probably costs just 5 rupees, there is a process that needs to be followed. You need to probably raise the request for that, and that request needs to be approved by multiple uh, levels of approvers. Maybe first of all, it's your own manager who needs to approve that. Then it goes to procurement department. Within that, there might be multiple levels of approvals. Depending on the item being purchased, the number of approvals required might be more or less. For pen, probably 1 or 2 approvals required, but for a server, probably there might be 20 approvals required, because that will be involving a huge cost. Do you all agree with that?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
That's true.
And that becomes a challenge, because for a simple approval, probably 1 or 2 approvals also required. It takes around a week. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Not always,
Yes.
but many a times it happens. Your approver probably might be on leave, might be out of office, might be on a business trip or something. So it happens, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So what do you think? What will be the turnaround time in case if I'm saying that there are 15, 20 approvers? Maybe a few months,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
right? Because you're not talking about 5 rupee thing. You are probably talking about a server which costs maybe 50 lakhs.
Hmm.
It is going to take time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And that won't be too less. And definitely in this case, the real time availability of the resources will never be possible. By the time the approvals come and the servers are procured, the other equipments are procured, probably the business demand itself has gone down. Then what to do with those additional resources? Don't you think that becomes useless for the time being?
Yes. Yes, Sabir.
So don't we expect some kind of improvement in this?
Agree.
Yes.
And that is what something that cloud computing tries to bring in by making use of complete virtualization of the resources. So when you use your machine, even your mobile phone, which is a small handheld computer only, do you always use 100% of the capability of your device? Maybe it
No.
is CPU, storage, RAM or something.
No. No.
No.
It probably
No.
just 40%, 50%. If you are into analytics field, maybe sometimes 70, 80%. Never ever you actually make use of 100% of the capability, right?
True.
Yes.
And if I talk about this usage over 1 year period, probably it will be just 30% only. Don't you think same must be happening with the servers also?
Yes.
Agreed.
Because users and the load is always a variable entity, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Can't we utilize those unused resources for doing something better and improvising the overall computing experience. If I say there are 10 servers and there is on an average 50% of the resources available all the time, can't I make a resource pool of all these unused resources and build a virtualization platform on it, which ultimately allows me to use those resources from any of those servers whenever needed. And via those servers, probably the other clients also can benefit because we have the client server and distributed architecture based programs also. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So everyone agrees on this, right?
Yes.
So what do you think?
Yeah.
What cloud computing is? What is cloud? The example that we are talking about is exactly what it is. It all started with the virtual machines, probably, right? Where
Yes.
you can have multiple operating systems running on the same machine at the same time, where there is one host OS and there are multiple guest OS, right?
Right.
Immediate benefit that I get as a developer is if I'm writing an application which works on multiple platforms, I need not test that application for different platforms by using multiple machines or maybe same machine with multi-boot option enabled, which requires me to reboot the machine every time I'm done with testing my application on one platform. I can do simultaneous testing, right?
Yes.
With the help of VMs, which saves my time, which saves my efforts also. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Improvises the overall experience for me as a developer. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So
Developer.
the seeds were sown at that time only when the virtualization was at the very, very initial stage. The virtualization went one step ahead by um, uh, probably introducing the network-based virtualization, where we used to have the virtual uh, server environment, where the VM used to be just one VM probably existing on the server, and there used to be multiple user sessions for the same VM at the same time. So multi-user access was provided with that, right? Microsoft also had the solution with Hyper-V. Correct?
Yeah. Saket, just one question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too early to ask, but
Yeah.
you know, when we have a setup on premise, right? So we
Yeah.
do maintain our servers. So we do
Yes.
take restarts of our database servers during some
Yes.
prod go lives or something like that. So, but when it
Yes.
goes to, let's say, one of the cloud, for example,
Yeah.
Azure. So how is that maintained? Like we have purchased subscription for XYZ cloud. So is
Yes.
it maintained by
Yes.
us or Azure?
Uh, can we hold on this question for another
Mm,
5 minutes?
yeah, sure, Saket. Yeah,
Right? You will be getting your answer for sure,
yeah.
because this is something that is already in the agenda only,
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks.
right? Uh, there will be a comparison between different cloud offerings where you will be getting your answer.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Understood?
Yep.
Okay. So I believe we are good till now. We understood what is cloud computing, what actually it is bringing in. Virtualization at a very, very large scale, making the resources available via internet to anyone who is subscribed. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Why subscription is needed here? To keep
You know,
track of?
How
Yeah,
many
please go
users
ahead.
are
that
Yes.
will
How
provide
many
you a secured
users?
way, secured access.
Security,
Yeah.
yes.
The
Then
usage.
having control on who is using
Yeah.
which kind of resources, having the
Correct.
analytics of the same being maintained so that the overall availability of the resources can be made uh, ahead of time to all the users, right?
Yes.
Right. That's where the subscription comes in, and based on the subscription, basically the billing is also done. Correct. Based on which user has used which services, how much of the usage is there, how many times input output has happened, how many transactions have happened, how much data has been stored, based on which the bills are calculated, be it whichever computing environment you are using on cloud, whichever cloud provider you are using. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
So what all it actually uses on the cloud environment? It uses compute. Compute means processor. Precisely as on today, we should use processor core rather than processor. Then networking, then storage, then analytics also, which includes data analytics, log analytics, everything. Yes.
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 Look at this slide. There are two graphs side by side. Just identify exactly what this set of graph actually is depicting. On the previous slide itself, we just discussed this. Server provisioning, just for your information, is basically another synonym we can say being used for on-premise computing. And cloud provisioning is talking about the similar setup on cloud. Now try to understand what the graph is depicting.
In cloud provisioning, the optimal use of the resources. But in
Absolutely. So you
on-premise,
can see very, very little or no gaps in terms of what is required in terms of resources and what is available. Am I right?
yes.
Over provisioning, maybe 10%, 20% might be being done intentionally to take care of sudden spikes in the demand, which is good strategy, I feel, because if you say real-time scaling, scaling is never going to be real time. It will take some time to spawn the new resources, new servers and all. Correct. So that's where having 10 to 20% of over provisioning helps. By the time the new resources are getting spawned, probably the buffer that we have in terms of additional resources or over provisioned resources will take care of some of the requirement which has spiked. Correct.
Yes.
At very, very rare moments, probably the under provisioning might happen. Very, very big spike in terms of requirement has come, and probably a lag of few seconds to maybe not more than few minutes might happen even in cloud also, but few seconds to few minutes is fine compared to few months. Am I right?
Yes, Saket.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Whereas left hand side graph, if you see, is talking about on
Server
premises thing.
provisioning. Yes,
Lots,
and
lots of gaps, right?
yes, it is wasting the capacity.
Wasting the capacity at times, most of the times I would say. And when I need that capacity, probably I'm not getting in many cases, right?
Yes.
Yes.
By the time the
Yes.
capacity arrives, probably my requirement itself goes down. See the last two yellow regions. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
On demand.
Correct. So I think this is pretty clear and how cloud helps in this, right?
So Saket, when we say on demand, so it will
Yeah.
also cut down the uh, subscription pricing as well, right? So it is more wallet friendly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you just need to have right configuration. Rather than right configuration, I would say the optimal configuration with lots of automation being used
Mhm, mhm.
so that
Okay.
you spend only what you are actually requiring.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
10% or 20% more than that, just to have everything ready for handling the unavoidable circumstances also, right? But compared to the on-premises environment, this is pretty big saving, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Plus, you don't need to have any physical server at your end, which saves cost for not only the hardware and other equipments, but for software also. No civil space required. I can run my office just from anywhere in the world. I just need to be connected to internet. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
Beside that, I don't require any hardware and networking maintenance and management staff. No physical security required. Correct?
Yeah. Correct.
This is where all this thing is actually going to be managed and maintained by, the cost is going to be bared by the cloud service provider. And this is where, once again, the big savings come in. Correct?
Yeah. Correct.
You will still require your IT team, probably, which takes care of your deployments, the softwares, the software licensing, their configuration, their upkeep. But again, it depends which flavor of cloud you are using, how much team is required, and what role is actually required to be played by that team or set of teams. It depends on which mode and which flavor you are using, right?
Correct.
Like if you are going for infrastructure as a service, if you are going for platform as a service, if you are going for software as a service, your role is going to be different in all, and based on which the requirement of staff will also change. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So big savings we can see immediately, right?
Yes, Saket. Yeah.
So this is more about the benefits that we get with the cloud. There are few which we already discussed about and just summarized over here. Like the first one talks about the flexibility and scalability. We just spoke about it. At any point in time, I can just have my policies created, which just monitors at real time what the requirement of the deployments is. And based on that, I can scale up and down my server, or I can also plan for scaling out if scaling up is not sufficient. Scaling up means upgrading your server configuration, but that has got a limit. You cannot just infinitely upgrade your devices, right? The server which used to be there 10 years ago probably can not be further upgraded as on today, because most of the core hardware itself has become obsolete now. It's not compatible with the new hardware which is coming in, right? But you want to keep that server because it is playing crucial role. Maybe you will phase it out later on, but for the time being, you want to keep it. And to increase its capability, you want to have a entirely new server configured as on today, which will help you plan the phasing out of the older server also. And till the time the server is performing just good enough and there is no technical issue with it apart from the performance and all, probably you can use this old server also with load balancer being put in front of old and new server. That way you can actually plan multiple new servers as well. Yes or no? And working in
can
a
you just
virtualized environment, this is very flexible. Yeah, please come again.
explain that server thing?
See, there are two ways where your performance related requirements can be fulfilled. You have a laptop and you have a desktop. You have some application requirements which are being fulfilled by both of them seamlessly as on today. 3 years down the line, the technology changes, which actually forces the software also to change. Now, usually we see that the newer versions come up with more higher requirements for the resources, right? I remember in late 90s, when I actually got my first computer. The configuration was like Pentium 4 400 megahertz processor, single core. 32 MB of RAM it had, and 6.3 GB of storage space on the hard disk, and which was more than sufficient. At that moment of time, it was way ahead of its own time. It was a pretty heavy configuration, which I further upgraded by changing the RAM from 32 MB to 64 MB. Most of you must be laughing on this configuration, am I right? Just raise hands.
Yeah, true.
We don't have that configuration in phones also these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about GBs in terms of RAM as on today.
True.
Terabytes in terms of storage.
Storage.
Gigahertz, multi-gigahertz, maybe 4, 5 gigahertz in terms of processor, single core. We talk about quad core, we talk about octa core. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what does it mean? The requirements sometimes change just because your data also is increasing, right? So same hardware will not just keep on fulfilling your needs all the time throughout your life, correct?
Yes.
Tell me, don't you change your phone every 2 to 3 years?
Yes.
Reason, same.
Yes. New software,
Applications
new
which are
versions.
working as on today probably don't work on the same device probably 3 years down the line, correct?
Correct.
They become incompatible. The new upgrades don't work, just refuse to work on it. Clearly come with notification that, okay, I need this much of configuration, which is minimum requirement. Otherwise, I'll not work. Right? So we are forced to buy new devices. Now, there comes a question. You had a desktop, you had a laptop. Let's put in one more device there, mobile phone. Okay. Which device out of these three can be upgraded in terms of hardware resources easily? If I talk about mobile, it cannot be upgraded at all. Yes?
Yes. Laptops can be.
If I talk about laptops, up to certain extent, the upgrade is possible. Yes?
Desktops. Yeah.
Laptops maybe can have an increase in RAM, can have a increase in storage space, right? Because newer laptops come with multiple hard drive slots also, right? With SSDs and all, that has become pretty compact, right? So maybe storage you can increase, RAM you can increase. Can you actually replace the motherboard and processor in laptop? No.
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 What about desktop?
Yes.
Even motherboard and processor can also be changed, right?
Yes.
But again, that also has got a limit. After a certain extent, your architecture will change in such a way that the box in which you install all these hardwares probably is no more compatible.
Yes.
You need to change the entire machine in that case, isn't it?
Yes.
Which means the old one is gone, dead, correct?
Yeah, entirely.
No more usable or partially usable. Yes.
Yes.
So I believe now it is understood what I was talking about. This is scaling up when you upgrade your hardware. The other option in such cases, when you run out of resources where you cannot go for upgrade anymore, is having a parallel server installed with new configuration, right? Latest configuration. So both servers will keep on working, and then there is a load balancer who manages the load based on the kind of work, based on the kind of request, maybe based on old user or new user. It just routes your request to old or new server. There can be multiple logic based policies. Yes.
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 This is something what we call a scale out. right? When we downgrade, again, upscaling will have downscaling as its counterpart. Means you are reducing the hardware configuration. And then scale out has got scale in, where you are probably reducing the number of servers. So this is something which is heavily flexible, heavily extensible kind of implementation when we are working on cloud. I hope it's clear to all.
Yes, Sagat.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? So we have both solutions here. As far as scale up is working, we'll go with scale up. But when scaling up is no more an option, probably we can then move to scale out. And this is where if we bring in the automation, probably it will be taken care of by the system itself on its own based on policy. Like I can have monitors created on the usage. The moment I see the spike in such a way that the resource utilization crosses, let's say 80% of the available resources, I can plan an automatic upscaling or automatic scaling out by increasing number of instances, right?
Yes.
Next is security. We already spoke about. Physical security will be taken care of by, physical security of your servers will be taken care of by your cloud service provider. You don't need anything in that. But the software security, application security ultimately lies with you. Having your virtual machine secure is the duty. The access to those virtual machines being made secure is the duty performed by your cloud service provider. They ensure that no user other than the, I would say, the planned user by you gets the access to that VM, not even their own engineers. Even if they do for some support kind of request, basically you will be the approver in that case. You raise the request for support, they need the access to it. They will first of all take the approval from you by taking the declaration also that you are allowing them to get into your machines, right?
Right.
So you have almost 100% control on who gets the access, even if you are giving your things in hands of a third party. So you can rest assured that your stuff is very, very secure, right? Then next is capacity. We can actually say this is unlimited on cloud. Is it practically possible to have unlimited capacity?
No, no.
Practically not possible, but then that's where they use their own analytical engines which work at real time. They also monitor what is the usage. The moment they see that, okay, the need is increasing or users are increasing, subscriptions are increasing, overall number of applications and other deployments, virtual machines are increasing, the demand for the hardware is increasing, they just set up another new data center. Make sense? And this happens behind scenes. We don't need to get into that at all. Right?
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And this hardware thing is entirely taken care of by them. No matter which flavor, which mode of cloud computing we are using. Okay. Cost, we already spoke about how it comes down with cloud. And then the entire idea, it's all based on the internet, open internet standards and web-based standards. So completely extensible, which allows you to create the applications and services that can interact with each other also the way you want. Right? And basically the accessibility for the same is possible throughout the world. You just need to be connected to internet and you can just get the access to whatever information you're looking for from any part of the world, even from your mobile phone. or a smartwatch also. Make sense?
Yes.
Next is types of cloud. So partially the question is going to be answered here as well. I believe some percentage of the question has been already answered. Yes?
Hello, Saket.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saket. Actually, we have talked about a lot of advantages of cloud computing, and
Yeah.
everything has some limitation and some disadvantage.
Yeah.
Can you just brief some of the disadvantages of cloud and or limitation of clouds?
See,
Like on
limitation,
one
first of
point
all,
we
it
have,
starts with,
yeah, please
yeah,
go.
go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I was talking about like at what point, at what scenario we should avoid cloud and go with the on-premise servers and all.
Yeah, so first limitation is you need to be always connected via internet. And that should be a stable and good internet connection, which becomes a limitation in itself because you don't have the connectivity everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Though it might come in near future, but as on today, the situation is different, right?
But my
Yes,
application will always be connected to internet. Now I just need internet connection just to make some changes in
access
my
it,
application, right?
right? So that is just one of the limitation. Then all of your information still lies in a third party server, right?
Right.
What if some intruder gets into their systems by breaking their security, which
Okay.
usually hackers do, right?
Right.
So the confidential, highly confidential information like the banking sector data, uh, I mean any finance domain related data and applications, then defense sector, then space research sector, healthcare domain cannot 100% rely on cloud. Even if they want to, they probably need to go with private cloud, and with private cloud, they will just get advantages of the cloud features. At the same time, they will be still having their own on-premises data centers only, on which the cloud system would be running completely in private mode for them, controlled by them. Understood?
Yes.
So these are few of the disadvantages or limitations, I would say, not disadvantages, but limitations when we talk about the cloud computing. Understood?
Okay. And Saket, how can we confident like our application is but secure on the cloud? Like, is there any parameters which companies providing us? Like, how
See,
can we learn that?
basic IT practices are already being followed because usually the cloud providers are themselves are also IT companies. They know some of the industry standards already, right? That is where it starts. But at the same time, most of the geographies, countries have their own policies. Like in European region, the recent uh, security policy for IT is something what we know by the name GDPR, right?
Right.
Everyone providing the services, be it cloud services or whatever it is, has to adhere to those policies. India has got its own policy. Probably US has got its own policy. It may not be always a country. It may be group of countries also, like Europe. Single country doesn't have any policy, but the union of European countries basically has the common policy called as GDPR. So there are governance policies already in place, which ensures the user data is always going to be secure at the topmost level. Got it?
Yes,
So
yes, okay.
up to certain extent, they are providing you whatever they can. But at the same time, it's your application which is running. You are developing that application. So you also have the responsibility that you write the application with no loopholes in it, security loopholes precisely. Understand?
Uh, right, right.
So it's a joint duty of the service provider and you as a developer.
Saket,
So we just spoke. Yeah,
yeah,
go
with
ahead.
addition to these limitations,
Yeah.
I just want to know how the data was secured. Means, as you said, right? If the data was huge and it is increasing day by day, they are creating another
Yeah.
data center. So
Yeah.
while migrating, if the data loss happened from their side, then
Yes. Good
how they are
question.
going to
So this is
recover?
where
Yeah.
this is where basically the high availability services come into existence. What they do
Mhm.
is they don't move your data all the time. And at the same time, they have a parallel system running, which is replicating all of your information with access once again available only to you and your designated users, which is applicable for your primary server also, right? So
Right.
there is a parallel system, which is, you can say, the backup system, which is there. So replication is one thing. Beside that, you have the backup servers also, periodic backups are there. Then on the top of that, there are services which actually allows you to plan your own disaster recovery as well. Like
Okay.
there is something
Mhm.
called as availability sets,
Mhm.
availability zones, with the help of which you can have your own setup with replication and backup services being handled at your end also. So again, this becomes a joint duty for
Okay.
mission critical
Mhm.
deployments.
So
They
for
are doing their
having
bit.
those capabilities or services, as you said, that will cost us, right? That will increase the cost, or that is in
Of
the
course.
package
But if
itself?
you compare that with on-premises thing, it will be still maybe less than one third only. Because when
Okay.
you do it at on-premises, you will need civil infra, you will need physical security, you will need staff, you will need hardware, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, even if it is being done by both the parties, the service provider and you as a developer, in a joint manner, it is all on virtual space only, right? So the
Right.
cost is comparatively going to be very, very less. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, but this is optional services, right? Means
Optional
high.
means,
Okay. So
see,
you pay
at
and you
their
get.
end, it's not optional. At service
Okay.
provider end, they always do it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
That was my
included in
question.
your cost only, on the original package only. But
Nominal cost.
when
Okay.
it
Mhm.
comes to you, it becomes optional whether you want to set up your own DR plans or not.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah. And another one is for performance related. I don't know if you are going to cover in this next slides. If yes, then
Mhm.
we can leave it now. But for performance wise, I think cloud is giving performance issue nowadays, right? As compared to prim servers. Is it so?
Not
Means I'm just asking.
really,
I'm not
not
sure.
really. It
Mhm.
may be just because of the bad configuration and bad planning only.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's move on.
Okay.
Basically, now we have three types of or three modes of using the cloud. One is public cloud, which is basically going to need a subscription from our end, and anybody can subscribe and connect and use it from any part of the world, available everywhere via simple internet connection. This is public cloud. All resources are public, just like the public transport system. Here, it is public computing system. Understood?
Yes.
Next is private cloud. What is it? Your own data centers, your own servers. But on the top of that infrastructure, you ultimately run a virtualization system, which provides you all the cloud benefits also. So costing wise, probably it will be much more higher, but at the same time, it will give you the main benefit, which probably I can say is into uh, the scalability. Got my point? More secure, of course, because there
Saket,
is no way
Saket,
that the physical server will be accessible by some outsider, unwanted user.
Saket, for private cloud, who maintains this private cloud? Like, though organization has
You.
taken this cloud, but suppose for maintenance part, suppose if
You
any
only.
issues.
The hardware maintenance, the physical security, the infra maintenance is on you.
Okay.
Cloud service is just providing you scalability benefits over here, nothing else. I mean, you can add in servers, you can remove servers at will. Understood?
Yes.
Saket, the maintenance activity is with Microsoft, na?
No. Maintenance of only cloud services is with them. I mean, the software which they will provide you to have the
Mhm.
cloud features is with them.
Ah,
Because
right.
here you have your own data center setup, how Microsoft will get the access to it. It will be a security breach, isn't it?
Yes. So I guess Divyanshu was asking the same question.
Yeah.
So my main question was like, suppose if any issues happen, like cloud is down, or suppose we are not
Hmm.
able to access the data in the cloud, and
Hmm.
in such cases, Microsoft comes into the picture in case
Correct.
of Azure. Microsoft
Some
comes
See,
people.
if it
into
is
the picture or not?
there are two things for it. If it is your virtual machine, your deployment, which is suffering only because of
Mhm.
something going wrong in your deployment, it's you who will be responsible for it. But
Okay.
if the outage is because of their own data center facing the issues, it's the
Hmm.
cloud service provider who will come into picture. But
Yeah.
that is applicable when you are talking about public cloud, not private.
Okay,
Okay.
If
Saket,
it is
I
private
was
cloud, it
expecting.
is entirely on you.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay.
Saket.
Got it.
Only uh, case when Microsoft or any cloud service provider will come into picture for rescue operations for private cloud is when the software issue with their own cloud services is there. So they will help you with that only, not the hardware related thing. Understood?
Yes. Okay.
Saket, how the scalability will be provided by the cloud vendor as we are having our own data centers and all that. So how the
Yeah.
scalability?
So basically, with typical on-premises systems, we used to be dependent on the main operating system only for providing the server features, right?
Mm-hmm.
With cloud services as an extension coming on the top of servers, you will not be limited to one server. You have one server, services running on that for providing you the virtualization. The moment you add on another server with cloud services enabled on it, the cloud service combines two servers for the resource pool and provides the services on both. So your scale up and scale out all are taken care of by this cloud service extension only. Something what you might have heard as Azure Stack, which is actually the software extension that we need to put on Windows servers or Linux servers,
Okay,
which
with the
takes care
scale.
of the scale.
Okay, the scalability in terms of the software application will be
Yes,
provided
correct,
by them,
correct,
but the
correct.
hardware scalability that will be limited
That,
as on prem.
of course, of course. So again, the multiple level approvals and all that will be applicable. But once approved, basically you can just bring in and connect it to the network. Rest of the things, rest of the configuration is already in place, which the cloud services will take care of. Understood?
Yes.
Now, what is hybrid cloud? Easily we can say combination of public and private, but what exactly is the requirement for this? Any use case that you see?
Okay. Suppose consider we have a data in public and we need to be accessed by the user which are present in private. So we can choose this hybrid one, right?
Other way around, I will say data is something which is crucial to you that remains in your on-premises server, and the accessibility would be for any user who is basically a valid user on your application, but he could be there uh, uh, at any part of the world, right?
Right.
Like
Yes.
if I talk about finance domain, they are very, very concerned about the data. They cannot afford to lose any information leak, or they cannot afford information leak, right?
Yeah.
It can be probably a loss to them, monetary loss also, right? So they might want the database servers to be on premises. But in today's world, the banking is not limited to, the user going to the bank, filling the slips to withdraw or to deposit money. We are living in digital age, right? Where we are actually using UPI and credit cards and ATMs, right? We hardly go to bank for withdrawing and deposit operations. Am I right?
Right.
Probably many of us would be who might be visiting the bank only once a year, or maybe might not have visited bank for last 3-4 years. Yes or no?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Even
Yes, yes.
account opening happens at fingertips only, right?
Yes. Yes.
You can just upload your documents digitally directly on their portal or within their app, and your account gets approved.
True.
Any
Yes,
physical
yeah.
document required, their executive comes and collects it. Correct?
True. Even people are
So,
having this car loan, home loan from their home only. So they are.
of course, of
Yeah.
course. So what that mean is the access is outside also, but the data is lying secure in their own data centers. Application is public, data is private. Understood?
Saket, so this
Yeah,
private, right? Sorry, maybe I have missed the point when you have
yeah,
explained
yeah,
private
yeah.
cloud. So the creating a private data center is kind of the same, right? When we are putting when we are having the servers at our premise, the same way we are
Yes.
creating the data center at our
In
place.
addition to that, you are putting cloud services on the top of those servers so that they become
Right.
scalable.
Right. So that is the benefit only for the
Yes,
private, right?
yes,
Okay. Apart from that,
yes.
the hardware, the things what is
Correct,
coming
correct.
with the prelim servers, etc. Risk
Yes,
will always be with us for the data center. We have to
absolutely,
protect
absolutely,
those. Okay.
absolutely.
And this hybrid one, public and private, so we can have two platforms, two cloud platforms, GCP plus Azure.
Yes,
That way we can do
yes,
it, right? Oh,
yes. Correct. Okay. So this is the summary of what we just discussed. In fact, many of the questions that are coming to mind are being targeted by the pointers over here, right?
Yeah, true.
Let's talk about the important terminologies. Infrastructure as a service, IaaS. What is it? Where you just subscribe for virtual resources. So providing you the compute services that includes processor cores, RAM, CPU, CPU cores, RAM, and storage. That is something which is going to be taken care of by your cloud service provider. But then what you do with these resources is all up to you. Whether you want virtual machines, whether you want some applications within those virtual machines. When you say virtual machine, within that virtual machine, which OS you are looking for, everything comes to you, including the licensing. Right? Except hardware, everything comes to you, just like on premises. This kind of cloud service is useful when you are probably just adopting the cloud for your applications and the other deployments uh, to make it future ready. Why I said this is the best, because you ultimately work with virtual machines. Virtual machine is just like a physical machine only, logically, if you compare, right? So you can actually go for lift and shift behavior here. Your application is working on a physical server, move it to virtual machine and put that virtual machine on cloud. You don't require any reconfiguration or anything, right? This is the easiest way. first thing you should do is this only. Lift and shift. Test whether the things are going on smoothly or not. What are configuration required for networking you can do. The accessibility in terms of setting up the network security groups and probably the firewalls and all you do. Test the connectivity, test the application, and then probably you come up with a migration plan further where probably the newer development happen on platform as a service as the primary target. And then side by side, you probably plan to upgrade your infrastructure as a service based deployment also to platform as a service. The ultimate goal actually should be platform as a service only. But at the same time, infrastructure as a service is something which will never be ruled out because there are new technologies, new operating systems, new platforms always coming in. New softwares always coming in. Sometimes they are not available on platform as a service offering. So in such cases where the custom requirements are there, you can set up a virtual machine easily and just set up the software and the environment that you're looking for directly within the virtual machine itself. Interesting?
Yes, yes.
What is platform as a service? Platform as a service is just like you have a ready-made server available with all of your demands being taken care of with pre-configuration in place. You just deploy your application and let the cloud service provider manage the upkeep of your application. The part of the application that you need to maintain is the code. But how that application ultimately runs, how your server becomes available, how that virtual environment becomes available via some virtual machine or something, you don't need to look after that. It will be taken care of by your service provider. Understood? Just like if I'm creating a ASP.NET application, what I need to deploy it? Web server that is compatible with ASP.NET. Now behind scenes, whether it is IIS or PIS or DIS, who cares? As far as it is giving me what I want. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Right? So that's what platform as a service is, where service provider says, you give us what your requirement is, we will provide you the configuration, we will provide you the environment, you just deploy your application with the credentials provided and forget about what and how the configuration has to be done. We will take care of it. Got it? You don't have access to the virtual machine also in this case. Okay. What is SaaS, software as a service? It's more of a finished product. The entire software is already there. Users just need to subscribe and start using it, like Office 365, Gmail, or rather I would say G Suite, Google Suite, right? And then even Salesforce is a kind of software as a service only. It comes as a platform also because it allows you to deploy custom application also. Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Just to avoid the confusion, Sakit,
Yeah.
where would the operating system would come under IS or PAS?
See, if you have the access as the user of cloud,
Mhm.
it's ES.
Okay.
If you are just taking care of your application and being deployed on PaaS mode, operating system, you don't have the access to it, but operating system will always be there, right? Without that, your application won't work.
Right.
So the point is it will be taken care of by your service provider in that case. You just tell you need Windows based environment or Linux based environment or something else. They will set up the environment. They will configure the VM. They will manage the VM. They will set up the access according to your needs.
So it might come
But
under both IS or PAS as per the requirement.
PaaS is built on AS.
Right. So
and
suppose
SaaS is
once the
built on.
infrastructure has been created, we have raised the requirement like this much of CPU core and everything, RAM, ROM
Yeah,
we want. Network, I guess, also comes under ICE, right?
of
Networks and everything.
course.
Okay. And now,
Anything that talks about the machine and
mhm,
equipment and devices is ES.
okay.
Anything that talks about your application, data, and services, that comes under PaaS. And finished applications comes under SaaS.
Yes.
Got it?
Yeah.
Where you don't host anything, it is already hosted publicly for all, whether it is corporate user or typical private user, personal user. It's the same software for all. Just plays differently or behaves differently based on what kind of user you are. That is SaaS. Whenever there are updates, they are for all. Correct?
Yes.
You are only allowed to develop extensions to their existing services. You cannot change the core software itself in SaaS. You don't have access to the hosting environment also in this case. Got it?
Yes.
Now this is the summary of
Saket,
what. Yeah. Yeah.
for
Go ahead.
the application deployment, like if I want to deploy the web application, so it will be deployed on the PaaS or on the SaaS.
Web application that you develop will be deployed on PaaS, or if you want, it can be deployed on EAS also, not SaaS.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
this web
and service.
application now can behave as a SaaS for others if it is
Okay.
a subscription based application.
Okay.
SaaS
So
doesn't allow you hosting.
again, you are, again, like this kind of question might be there at the time of a certification, like where you will
Yeah,
host your application in which platform, on which service,
yes.
EAS or
So
PaaS.
it will depend on exactly what you are targeting, what kind of access you want, what kind of control you want. If you want to have your server under your own control, yes. If you are just concerned about your application, pass. Primary target is, if nothing specific mentioned in the questions, pass. And you never host on SaaS. Application is either SaaS or a normal web application, but SaaS never allows you to do any kind of hosting. Understood?
Yes.
Yes. Saket, I have a question.
Yes.
Saket, where those container will lie, like your Docker and Kubernetes, where that will lie?
Docker, Kubernetes basically talk about containers, right? Containers
Yes.
are mini virtual machines. That answers your question, where it should lie.
Yes, it will be as
Yes.
VM.
But then Microsoft has got a PaaS platform also for that. They have their built-in managed service for it. It started as a EAS offering initially, but now they have the PaaS platform also for that. So Azure Container Service is there, then Azure Kubernetes Service is there, AKS, ACS. So that allows you to use it as a PaaS. It depends on which cloud service provider you're using and what its capabilities are. So Azure, it is PaaS now. Got it?
Yes, okay.
Hi, Saket.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have one question regarding the cloud terminology that you have explained as PaaS and SaaS. So software as a service is a ready to use for the user. So I have a question that is SaaS is a part of PaaS or as?
Not part, it is built on the top of it, or rather it is deployed on PaaS. And PaaS depends by itself on ES. So it all starts with ES only.
Okay. Okay.
Understood? It's a kind of a stack. ES is the lowest level, then PaaS, then SaaS. Understood?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So SaaS is an already hosted application. PaaS is the hosting environment. And ES is like the complete hardware, raw hardware being provided to you. You do what you want with it. So this slide actually summarizes all. If you see who manages what. Got it?
Saket, for the software installation, like if I'm I'm deploying the application of .NET, so I need to I have .NET framework on my server. So for the .NET framework
So you have to
installation,
check. You have to check if the PaaS service is there, which basically already has the .NET environment enabled for me. If yes, go for PaaS. If you don't get your target environment in PaaS, then you can have a VM setup wherein you have to set up your environment, runtime environment and all. Understood?
Yeah.
Saket, over here
Yeah.
in this slide, the infrastructure as a service, it shows that
Yeah.
networking comes under Azure Manage. But let's say if we have to open some firewall and open a connectivity.
Configuration comes to you. Configuration is available to you. So they provide you the consoles from where you can do it, or you can have automation scripts also. Understood? So behavior you can manage. The physical networking you don't have access to. I mean, you cannot pull in, pull out the cables and all. You don't have access to routers and switches and everything. Okay, configuration is a software part of it, right? Software part of the networking. So that is available to you. Okay.
So, Saket, as you said, mentioned initially that configuration, right? We can also do, or you can ask them to do. So it comes in both,
See,
right? PaaS and yes.
in case of PaaS, you can put in your requirements. Basically, they can do some adjustments for you. You have to raise a support ticket for that. Okay. Some configuration may not be open for end user, right? It may be internal configuration, like which .NET version you are looking for. Let's say you have some legacy application, .NET 1.0. Now it's no more available on PaaS, but you can always request Microsoft that, okay, for my application, I need it. They can do it for you. Understood?
So this
Requirement
question
is
it
rare,
comes that
but it's
it
possible.
will be more kind of confusing, right? Where
No, it will be
configuration
all
part, right?
scenario based. Requirement will be pretty clear that I have a legacy application and I want to support my application which runs on an older version. Okay, which is no more available on Azure PaaS. So what should I do? Raise a support ticket. Right. So question will be very clear. It will not be confusing.
Okay.
You just need to read the question patiently. Understand?
Okay.
Now this is the animated version of the same.
Saket, I have a question. So
Yeah.
is there any trick of remembering how like which responsibilities rise is designated to which one, IAS or PAS? I'm talking about the previous slide.
See, it comes with experience, I would say.
That's
Once
what I
you
was
actually
thinking.
do some hands-on, by default, you start remembering, right?
And also
If you
started,
are, yeah,
that will be come during a service agreement, right? While we are
yeah,
talking with the service provider, a
yeah,
service agreement will be provided. There we can
correct,
review and we
correct,
can see the levels, who will
correct,
participate in which work. So that will
correct.
be very useful for
So
us.
that is enterprise subscription,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Not a general purpose subscription. Enterprise subscription has that.
Yeah.
So where SLAs also are signed and it is pre-decided.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yes, just see the animated version of what we discussed. What developer does here. Creates VM, sets up the database server, creates another VM, sets up the web server, provision the database, create the table, add data, deploy the application on web server, set up the load balancer, configure it, and finally the maintenance stage comes in. Once you have set up everything, maintenance starts. Now with web application, you can see there are multiple images possible, right? For load balancing and all that requirement, you may have more than one instance of the virtual machine created. So every single instance you have to create. You have to configure. You have to do the deployment. A lot of headache here because of being put on one simple slide. Because of space crunch, I could not put all the detailed steps for this. But these 6 steps basically expand to more than 600 steps practically while implementing this. You can understand how much load will be there on the application developer while choosing EAS. Now, don't you think this is too much for us? We don't set up servers. We ask the IT team to do it for us. Yes or no?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
We like that way only. Correct?
Yes.
That's where PaaS comes in. So the role of the developer in this case is there is a pre-provided environment for everything. You just tell how many instances you want. Then just deploy your database, create tables, add data, deploy the application along with whatever configuration required. That's it. Manage your application thereafter. This seems to be much more better option, isn't it? That is why I said PaaS should be preferred. Understood?
Yes.
So some questions. Why is cloud computing typically cheaper to use? We should be able to answer this now. Why should I move to cloud? And what are some cloud computing advantages? Sorry for the typo over there. I'll update that before sharing it with you. But yeah, that's what some of the common questions are, right? So here are the answers. Though we already have discussed it, just for your information, I put it in summarized way. In simple language. Just go through it quickly. Done?
Yes.
Yes.
I hope we have already discussed everything. In other words, but yeah, it is the same. Crux is same, right? Why should I move to the cloud? This also we discussed, right?
Yes. Yes.
Done?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are some cloud computing advantages? We discussed almost everything. High availability services with disaster recovery already planned. By default at cloud service provider end means Azure, Microsoft. Then the part of it comes to us also as optional services. Scalability we discussed. Elasticity is again something to do with scalability, right? Where I can increase the amount of processing power, memory and storage as per my need, increase or decrease. Agility. So as and when needed, I can make adjustments. Geo distribution means ultimately uh, deployments being planned in such a way that it's accessible everywhere without lags. And then DR. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So now you can tell me what is Azure. It's easy. Azure is a cloud computing platform offered by Microsoft.
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 Correct. What it offers? Cloud computing services in simple terms. Right? It gives you ES based deployments. It gives you PaaS based deployments. And SaaS, you don't do any deployment, so SaaS will never be provided by any cloud service provider. Correct? And so is the case with Microsoft Azure also. Though Microsoft Azure in itself is a SaaS offering only. Because Azure also is a software, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we can go for SaaS model as well, right?
You can create your application, which is actually a SaaS application, subscription based model,
So,
not just
in
a typical application.
So the subscription charges for SaaS model will be higher maybe because this is managed by Azure.
Uh, Not actually. If it is your application, the charges will be collected by you, and you will be paying for the PaaS services that you would be using on Azure to make your application available. Make sense?
Yes.
What can
Yes,
I do
Saket.
with
So,
Azure?
so
Everything.
some. So just
Yeah.
adding to it, so few of the shopping site apart from Amazon,
Yeah.
because they are on
Yeah.
AWS, but for some of
Yeah.
the shopping site, they want to use that is SaaS, and they want to host those on some of the cloud. So that is a SaaS, right? And they are paying to
Correct. So
one
if
of
you
the
have your
cloud
own
because they are
e-commerce
using this.
portal,
Mhm.
if you have your own e-commerce portal, which you want to make available for individual private users, plus some corporates also with corporate tie-ups, where their corporate Active Directory can be integrated in your application, right? That will be a
Yeah.
SaaS application. Doesn't matter you host it on AWS or Azure or something else. Application is a SaaS application.
Okay.
So even if you are doing the deployment on ES directly without using PaaS, still the application itself is SaaS application because it has been architected in that way. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So what can I do with Azure? In simple terms, I'll say everything that is possible on cloud. And the number of services are increasing day by day to make the things easy for the developers and the end users. All latest industry standards being used, applied in Azure, being made available via Azure in terms of services. So if you are planning to do some AI or machine learning based development, Azure already has got services for that. You just need to probably create the user interface only and use the built-in Azure services to provide you the AI and machine learning experience. Make sense? Azure Cognitive Services is basically something which comes under this category, where you already have the vision API, the audio API, and so on. Most likely they must have integrated ChatGPT engine also by the time we are talking. Because the platform is adopting newer things pretty rapidly. Every 21 days, we see some updates, some new features. Typical agile model they follow. With every sprint, they come up with something new. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, one of the important thing, there are pretty high number of questions on Azure pricing models also. So what all models are there? Pay as you go, which is like based on the usage. Basically, there is a usage meter managed by Microsoft based on how much data you have stored, how many input output operations have been performed, and how much compute services have been used, means processor core, memory, and storage you are charged on pro rata basis. So there are some services which do the calculation on hourly basis. There are some services which do the calculation on permanent basis. There is no long-term commitment required here. There is no upfront cost, means if you don't use anything, you pay zero. Just like the utility services like postpaid mobile connection or probably the electricity connection that you use at your home. So this is typically like that. The number of units you have consumed multiplied by rate is the bill what you will be paying. Understood?
Yes.
Reserved instances. What is that? Where you do some kind of commitment to Microsoft that, okay, I am going to need this much of compute power and I want this to be reserved for me. I want this virtual machine instance to be reserved for me. The set of hardware resources allotted to this virtual machine should be my private resources. That is reserved instance. So you have to do that commitment for 1 year minimum. And based on that, Microsoft offers you the discounted rates compared to pay-as-you-go pricing. Understood? Because you're committing the long-term usage, right? Like the prepaid mobile connections. When you say I want 1 year plan, it's pretty cheaper compared to that of the 28 days or 84 days plan. Yes or no? 1 year plan purchase means at least 1 year you will use that service. That's where the discount is provided, which also reduces your tax. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
there are spot instances. This is a bidding model. Any free resources that are available can be occupied. Some load can be quickly put on that. Some compute can happen quickly and immediately the resources are released. That is spot instances. This is good for probably creating the test environments. When I'm developing the application, deploying to cloud and looking to test those instances, that's where spot instances will be good. And because there is no long-term usage over here, because the moment some paid requirement come, pay as you go or reserved instance requirement come, the work of yours, whether it is completed or not on spot instances, the spot instances will be, the resources allotted to spot instances will be taken back forcefully. That's where your cost of usage will be pretty low in this case. There is no guarantee that your work will be completed here though. So that's why I said this is good for testing. Then you have Azure hybrid benefit also. What is it? If you have some of your own software licenses, like Windows server license you already have, 100 licenses you have. So that can be actually used for getting the discounts while creating the virtual machine based on that environment. It could be Windows, it could be SQL Server, any Microsoft product. Understood? You can actually redeem those licenses here. Right? You get most of the VMs at 40% of cost only if you are having your own licenses. Then there is Azure free account, which is basically to get some of your hands dirty on Azure. If you just want to learn, research and try a few things. So 30 days of free trial is there with $200 of credit equivalent in INR. You can convert as per the current rate. It is 13,000 something as on today. 13,300, I guess it is there in INR. So whether the credit is utilized first or 30 days are over first, whichever is first, your account will be automatically suspended. Your services will not be deleted immediately. They will be just suspended. Idea is if you plan to continue with this deployment by converting your subscription to pay as you go subscription, you can actually just reactivate those services again. You don't need to do the deployment in that case once again. Make sense? And on the top of all, there is enterprise agreement that we were talking about some time back. So here there could be some custom services and custom pricing model applicable based on the negotiations happening between the user organization and Microsoft. Right? Like I can see there are a few people from Vodafone. Vodafone must be having some agreement with Microsoft already, and that agreement would be the enterprise agreement only. So they might have their own custom requirements which are supposed to be fulfilled by Microsoft, which Microsoft will do as per the agreement. Okay. Some of the core services listed here, compute services, what all things come in. There was a question on that also, right? So VMs, container instances, directly container instances, if you are trying to deploy, they will be in some virtual machine, hence compute services will have it. Kubernetes services. If you are using Azure Container Services or Azure Kubernetes Services, that will go on PaaS. And we have batch service, we have service fabric, which is for developing microservices. Then VMware solution also is there. Then storage services include blobs, file storage, queue storage, table storage, disk storage, Azure Archives, which is used for backups. And then for big data storage, we have Azure Data Lake. Then database services, common databases you will find there. Azure SQL, which is SQL Server on Azure in PaaS mode. Cosmos DB, which is multi-model database environment that allows you MongoDB, NoSQL from Microsoft, which used to be called as Document DB initially, then something called a SQL API. And now there is another name change for it, which is now actually officially called as NoSQL API. Then there is Gremlin, there is Cassandra, multi-model database system it is, all targeting the NoSQL storage. Then MySQL also on Azure PaaS mode available. PostgreSQL also available on PaaS mode. Then the database migration service also is there from any database to any database that is supported by Azure. And then Azure Cache for Redis also is there. Redis actually is a third-party service, but then Microsoft has got a tie-up with Redis and they have built a PaaS service on the top of it. And then there are networking services also. What comes under it? Virtual network, load balancer, application gateway, which is a type of load balancer only. Azure load balancer is level 4, Azure application gateway is level 7. So for more details on levels, you can actually look into the load balancer documentation separately. Then Azure Traffic Manager, which is more of a routing engine. Then VPN gateway, which allows you to integrate your on-premises systems at different locations on one common Azure virtual network and communicate via that virtual network with each other. Then Express Route, which is again a premium service for connecting your on-premises devices to Azure or via Azure. Then you have Network Security Group and Firewall, both of which actually contribute to firewall services. Okay. So now what is AZ 900 certification? Official certification which gives you the understanding of Azure platform. One of the most fundamental certification offered by Microsoft for people who are interested in getting onboarded to Microsoft Azure, right? Getting some knowledge, may not be the complete hands-on knowledge, but theoretical knowledge, conceptual knowledge. Okay, so of course it is suitable more for people who are just new to overall cloud computing and precisely Azure. And that's why it focuses more on the overview and fundamental knowledge, conceptual knowledge of Azure services, some core cloud computing concepts, and then pricing models and the various Azure support options which are there. And then what it focuses on is, as I said, the concepts, right? Any questions?
Saket, for certification,
Yeah.
what is the pass means like passing marks to get the certificate?
Say all Microsoft certification have the total marks of 1000, out of which you have to score minimum of 700.
Okay.
And there is minus marking also.
Oh, minus
Not
marking,
very
negative
heavy.
marking is also there.
Yes, so there it's not very heavy, but it is there.
Okay.
So attempt only those questions where you are 100% confident. Make
And
sense?
second,
Yes,
what's the validity of these certifications? Is it for 2, 3 years or it's a lifetime of validity?
Say it's not something called as lifetime because sometimes they do retire some certifications. Some certifications which are more technology focused retire too early. Fundamental certifications last long. AZ 900 is going on from last, I would say, more than 5 years. Okay, so depends which kind of certification it is. Got it?
So Saket, this is going to lifelong till it get retire. The certification is going to
Yes,
get
yes, yes. And credential will always be lifelong. You have done this certification, that credential is lifelong. Just that you should be updated on the latest uh, services, latest service updates. That's why they ask you to attempt the newer version of it once this certification gets retired. Make sense?
Saket, how many certifications are there? This is for fundamental, right? AZ
Yes,
900.
so you have AZ 104, which talks about Azure infrastructure services. Then AZ 204 is there, which is for Azure developer features, developer platform basically. Then you have AZ 304, 305, which is for Azure architecting Azure solutions. Again, one is for developers, one is for infra people. And then you have AZ 400 series, which is basically for Azure DevOps. And then there are very specific certifications like if I'm looking to get certified in Azure machine learning or Azure data analytics and all. So there are data platform certifications also. The number of certifications we have. If you are looking to have specialization in some area.
Okay, so
Understood?
AZ 900 will be the initial one to have the fundamentals,
Correct. That is
right?
common. That is mandatory, I would say. And then you have to
Uh,
choose your path. Whether you want to go in development, you want to go in infra. If you are from IT background, probably you will go for AZ 104. Understood?
Saket, what was that code for DevOps course?
400 series. It is as of
400.
now, I guess 400 and 401.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What is the
most of
cost?
the
Yeah, Saket.
certifications are now available in split mode also, so that you can actually pinpoint what you are looking for. Get more specialization. Understood?
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
cost
One
of the
more question was there.
certification for 900, Saket, means like for AZ 900, the cost around.
It is 3696 as on today. And then it varies based on the local taxes and all. Base cost is 3696 in INR.
Hmm.
Right? So region
Saket,
wise, location wise, it might be different. Yeah.
uh, do I need to renew all my certificates if I do for DevOps, or like I only have to renew my AZ 400?
If it is the specialization certificate, only that one is required.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It's not have that compulsion to have AZ 900, right?
There is no compulsion, but it is a recommended one.
Okay. You
Because
can
it
go
gives you
ahead.
the elementary knowledge kickstart. It also equips you to be prepared for the further certifications, gives you confidence basically. It gives you a kind of a net practice for the harder ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of questions do they ask, how to attempt, the time management and everything. You can actually get some hands-on knowledge on that. Make sense?
Right.
And also partially prepares you for the further certifications because topics are same, right? If you go for 104, all topics are covered in 900 also. 900 focuses on theoretical concept, 104 is more on practical side. Similarly, 204, all concepts are there in 900. Make
Okay, so
sense?
900 will be theoretical one, and when we go for
Correct.
specialization one, we have to go with
Yes.
hands-on practice and all, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Still, I recommend even for 900, get some hands-on. If not very deep, elementary hands-on should be there so that you remember most of the things.
Saket,
Right?
any useful link that you will suggest us to go through
I'll share
apart
that
from
over the.
Udemy? Apart from Udemy.
Yeah, see, Udemy is one of the platform. Coursera has got some certification oriented uh, uh, courses, and then we also run some certification oriented courses at our end. I mean, optimistic infosystems. And beside that, if you're looking for very up to date kind of information in addition to what courses you have attended, I would also recommend to go with Microsoft Learn platform. They have their own LMS, right? That gives you most up to date information. So do attend some course, whether it is online, whether it is offline with us or someone else. But then don't forget to go through Microsoft Learn tutorials. Got it?
So,
Learn.microsoft.com.
Saket, you are going to share this deck, right, with us?
Yeah, it will be shared.
So in this, is there few reference URLs what you have talked about? Means,
I'll update that and then share.
okay.
Yeah. So once the video is published on YouTube, same time you will get the mailer for this deck as well, and which will be updated.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so these are some of the skills that are measured under this certification. Yeah. Please go
Saket,
ahead.
back to the topic.
Yeah.
Data governance, security, compliance, identity access management. So are
Yeah.
there any respective components in Azure for data governance,
Come again.
security? Data
We do
governance,
have
security.
for data governance also almost everything that you ask. We have built-in services, and then there are third-party services also available. Like recently, we did one of the training for data governance at one of our client end, which is not built-in into Azure, but third-party service, something what we call as Datadog for Azure.
Datadog.
So we do have all the options.
Okay.
Where Azure has got some of its built-in features, and then there is always the readiness to allow the third-party services to be integrated with Azure as well. Make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Saket.
Yeah.
I just have one question related to storage services.
Yes.
So we have data that resides in a data center, right? So while configuring this cloud storage, do we have the choice to select the data centers where our data will reside, or it will be done
Yes.
automatically?
No, you have the choice where you have to select the region where you want your data to be. So suppose if you are working for government of India for some project, government of India requires the data to be always there and within India only. So you
Correct.
have
Yeah.
to choose one of the data center located within India.
Yeah.
So it's not
Also,
only for data storage, it's there for everything
okay.
that you deploy.
Also, let's say if we have a few data centers in India, like it's in Pune, Mumbai, and Chennai, right? And
Yeah.
if I have my deployment in Pune, and
Yeah.
will there be any override if I choose a data center that is in Chennai over the distance?
Not really. I mean, it's not significant, which we can actually measure.
Okay.
Right, because it's too near. Practically, even Southeast Asia was the first choice data center earlier when there were no data centers in India.
Okay.
So all
Okay.
Indian deployments used to happen over there. So it's not that significant as such.
Okay.
It actually matters when the distance is very, very
Yeah.
huge. Like
Yeah.
if you're comparing with US data center, there will be
There will be.
some impact.
Also, I guess there will be security concerns as well while accessing the
Of
data.
course.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
always make sure you are adhering to the government policies.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
apart from government policy, your own company policy also, because it varies from project to project as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
These are some of the career opportunities after doing AZ 900 certification. So you can see this AZ 900 is for all roles, as it talks more about the concepts, right? And these are the concepts which any of these roles has to have. Yes or no?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is some of, I would say, the guideline that you should adhere to while preparing for AZ 900 certification. Understand the exam objectives, then study the Azure fundamentals from any resources as we discussed earlier. Here also I've mentioned Microsoft Learn, right? Then being the part of some Azure community also helps, where you can read blogs and you can participate in forums, right? To get all up-to-date information, latest news, trends, best practices, etc. And then, as I recommended, get some hands dirty on the platform. It helps you remembering the things easily. Because remembering by doing is easy compared to remembering just by reading. Am I right? I believe everything has faced this probably during their schools.
Yeah, correct.
Remembering the dates in history subject always used to be tough. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Because there was no practical involved, right? So get some hands-on experience, and then at the very end, let's say tomorrow you have the plan for, or day after tomorrow you have the plan for attempting the exam. 2 days earlier, you start taking the practice test. At least 2 to 3 times overall, the practice test must be attempted. And Microsoft itself provides the free practice tests for free, which are recommended because they are more aligned towards the certification. You won't get exact questions, but you will get the idea about what kind of questions can be expected. Understood? Don't go for dumps because they are not always 100% accurate. Yeah.
Saket, how we can create the account to take the practice tests or like that?
It's pretty simple. Just go to portal.azure.com. You need to have the Microsoft ID, which can be any Outlook ID or Hotmail ID or Live ID if you have some older ones. And you log in with that. And then once you try to deploy any of the resource, automatically it will say you don't have an active subscription. Please get one, and it will provide you the options like free trial, pay as you go, blah, blah, blah. Enterprise agreement will not be there as the option because that is an offline activity. Make sense? So you just
Saket,
need
I
to
have one
follow the
more question.
on screen. Yeah,
How many days are it valid of a trial subscription?
30 days, 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So once that is expired, probably you still want to practice more, create another account with another credit card and use it. Understood?
Okay.
Hello, Saket. I have one question.
Yes.
That is related to on-premises in Azure. So as I see, most of companies have their hybrid model, like a hybrid network. Like few are this, they have their on-premises and they're migrating into Azure. But on noted that they are fully not migrated in Azure. So what could be the reason?
See, it depends actually on what information they want to put on public and what they want to control further. Sometimes it is doubt also that whether the accessibility will be there and it will be secure or not. Because of that, they hold back. So depends. Okay, so time for some quiz. There will be some question coming on each slide. You can use your chat window to just answer it in terms of, it will be MCQ type only. So you can just put your answer. Like if your option is A, put A. If it is B, put B. Got it? Not a test. It is just, quick
Okay.
knowledge check.
Sure.
So after which I will give you some time to ask more questions as well. Don't worry. Who knows some of your question, which is
Saket, you there?
Saket, we can't hear you.
Guys, looks like Saket has some issue. Give us a moment. I guess he'll join back shortly. He'll join back in a minute.
Navjot, till the time Saket joins, need to check.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, for Vodafone, actually, this is for 2 hours training. And are you providing them back the attendance of how many from Vodafone have joined this session?
Yes, we would be maintaining that record, and I guess we would be sharing that with the learning team whom we are in touch with. So generally,
Okay.
that is what we do for all our sessions. Like all the corporate nominations, we send a small report that how many have actually nominated and how many has actually attended. So that would be shared for sure.
Okay, thank you. Because we have few this hours added in our mandatory training, so means we have some hours. So yeah, so
Yes,
this
so
needs
it
to be
would be
added in
shared with the
our.
learning team. Yeah, learning team
Okay,
will be sharing with them.
thank
Hello,
you.
Navjot.
Sorry?
So, hello.
Yeah, please.
So as I said, this is a webinar. So do I have any planning in future for that AZ or Azure Fundamental full course?
Yes, we do have, and there would be public as well as exclusive webinars, sessions in case, because Vodafone, we are a learning partner, and for other companies also who have nominated, we are official in-panel learning partners. So if you guys can speak to your management or the training team, so we can organize exclusive sessions for the teams, or else probably next month we'll be having a public session also wherein anyone can nominate. So we have plans.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
So just mention that in the feedback form, there would be a remark section. So in case when
Definitely.
you are filling that feedback form, just mention that this is the course I'm interested. So based on that kind of how many nominations we have, we can quickly launch a course. That's
All right. Thank you.
Hey guys, am I audible? I'm back.
yes, Sakat.
Yes,
Now
Saket.
you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was some outage with internet because of which I got disconnected. So let's continue our quiz. I'll just share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so here comes the first question. Please your chat box quickly to answer. Which of the following is not a core service in Azure? If you feel that none of these is the option, you can put none of these also.
Probably it would be none of these, Saket, right?
Yeah, let's see. So how many of you answered D? Answer is D, because database is not a separate core service as such. Though it's a service, it's not a core service. It comes under storage only. It's a subset. Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Next question. Which Azure service provides a fully managed serverless platform for building and deploying web and mobile applications? Done? So right answer is Navjot. Any guess from you?
Looks like it's option number A, Azure Functions, no?
No, it's B, app service,
B.
because functions actually work on the top of app service only.
Oh.
So similar kind of questions you can expect in the exam as well. Little bit related options are also there, so be careful. Right, that's why I said read the question very, very patiently. Next question. Which Azure service enables you to run large scale parallel and batch compute jobs in the cloud? It's easy. Who will answer this on voice? Anybody?
Is it A?
Is it it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's
Azure batch. It's easy. Question itself has got the answer, right? So you can expect some simple questions also, scoring questions. Which of the following is a deployment model in Azure? Someone said something but not audible. Can you speak it loud? Anybody on voice?
All of
Is
the
it
above.
C?
It's D.
C.
It's D, all of the above. Single tenant is possible, that is regular web application. Multi-tenant is basically where SaaS thing comes in, usually, and then hybrid. You can have the same application working in both modes, and then that's why the answer becomes all of the above. Which Azure service provides a scalable, highly available database for mission critical applications? This one is little tricky, because at the first go, all seems to be the options, right? So let me rule that out. All options are not there, and none of the above is also not there as the option. Anybody on voice?
Is it D?
Maybe D.
C.
It is Azure SQL database. Microsoft will always have better support for their own product, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Next question. Which of the following is not a type of virtual machine or VM in Azure? Anyone on voice?
D.
B GPU VMS.
GPU is a
It's
Google.
none of the above. It's none of the above. Okay, there is no concept as such for general purpose VMs. There is no concept of GPU VMs or HPC VMs. VM is just VM. Okay.
Got acknowledge.
Okay, next question. Which Azure service provides a globally distributed multi-model database for any scale? This time, let me make it easy. It's not answer B. A, that's right. Azure Cosmos DB.
Cosmos.
Multi-model, if you remember, we also discussed, right? Next question. Which of the following is not a deployment option for Azure VM? This also we discussed. It's easy also. Anyone on voice? It's C, virtual network.
Yep.
Okay. Next, which Azure service provides a scalable NoSQL database for real-time web and mobile applications?
A, Cosmos DB.
Cosmos DB. This time it's more precise question, though looks like we already had this question in the past, but that was multi-model, right? Next, which Azure service provides a fully managed service for building and deploying machine learning models? Little out of context from today's discussion, but we should have at least one or two questions like that also, right? To enhance knowledge.
Option
Cognitive
C,
services.
cognitive services.
Don't you think it should be AML? B, Azure Machine Learning.
Yeah.
Cognitive services are built on it. Okay. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you have any more questions, I give you 5 minutes more. Meanwhile, I hope everyone enjoyed the session.
Yes.
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 Yes,
And
Sakit.
Sakit, in the market we have AWS and Azure
Yeah.
Cloud, Google Cloud are there. Which is the best one? Which is the best market in the?
Say, as a whole, we cannot say which one is the best.
Okay.
Usually, the market research says that you should do a study based on your actual requirement, do a service by service comparison, not only in terms of usage, but also the cost and uh, the scalability and the high availability, all the things you should keep in mind. So there is a tool from Azure itself, something called as uh, total cost optimization, or just TCO if you can search for Azure TCO. It provides you the comparison between all possible options, including on premises also.
Okay.
And it's a realistic study that it provides. It's not like because it's a Microsoft tool, it will prefer Azure only. It gives you honest opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Revenue wise, if we talk about currently AWS is the leader with more than 51% of market share. The nearest or closest competitor to it is Azure with around 44% share in the market. Rest is actually shared between all others.
Okay.
So that says AWS and Azure are the leaders.
Okay.
Azure is pretty good in terms of support. Microsoft is known for that, right?
Okay. So, and one more thing. So Azure will support Linux operating system or will
It
need
does.
support?
It does.
It
It
does.
does. It
Okay.
does support all the flavors of Linux as well.
Linux. Okay.
And
Okay.
not only limited to Linux, it does allow creating the custom VMs also. So if you have some unknown operating system which you want to use for some of your project, that is also supported. But that will go in EAS.
Okay.
Any other queries, anyone, please?
Now, just help me out if there is any query in chat also, because somehow chat is not visible at my end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any so far. Sure,
Yeah.
friends, everyone, thanks a lot for active participation and big hand to Saket. I believe we have enjoyed the session.
Thank you, Saket.
Right. And
Thank you.
I would like to repeat there is a small feedback form which I have shared in the link in the chat. So humble request to fill all of that. And in case the other training sessions, other technology you would be interested in. So please mention that in the remarks. And thanks for being such a wonderful participating audience. And many thanks, Saket, again, for making it such an interactive and useful session for everyone. Thanks a lot. We will be uploading the channel on the YouTube on this the videos. You'll be getting a link to that over your email, guys. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.